All right. Well, God bless everybody. It's great to see you. Today, the topic is one thing. Have you ever asked yourself, what is one simple thing I can do that will change my life? Is such a thing possible? You know, we see movie characters click their heels together, or swallow special pills, or speak a few ancient words from a dusty old book, or wave a crooked wand, or inject some top secret serum, and then all of a sudden that actor quantum leaps into an advanced reality. And they make it look like one single action changed everything. Well, maybe it can. Is there one thing I can do that'll change my life? The answer is, of course, once you figure out what that one thing is, you'll know. Curly's Law, his secret to life. One of the simplest dramatizations of one thing changing a life was portrayed in the 1991 movie City Slickers. And I love the scene where Mitch, played by Billy Crystal, is riding side by side with a grizzled cowboy named Curly Washburn, depicted by the late, great Jack Palance. And Curly was giving Mitch a simple rule to live by. And so here's Curly. Do you know what the secret of life is? This. Mitch, your finger? Curly, one thing. Just one thing. You stick to that and everything else don't mean squat. Mitch, but what is that one thing? Curly, well, you got to figure that one out. And that was a moment in the movie that everything for Mitch came together and began to turn around. And Mitch had his cowboy zen moment. And through a series of events, he soon remembered his real and true one thing. What's your one thing? What's your one thing? That one simple line in the movie says almost nothing, yet it's rich and has an amazing insight. You know, if we boil it all down, you know, each of us will be enlightened as we realize or remember exactly what our real and true one thing is. Now, having one thing, one major focus towards which all goals are set, is simple, directional, foundational, and life healing. I ask you again, what is your one thing? Or should I say, what's your one thing? You know, is it family? Is it your job or livelihood? Is it protecting others? Is it teaching others? Is it your health? Is it being a caregiver? Is it entertaining others? Is it music? Is it the arts? Is it your deep down godly calling? Your place in the body? Your gift? What is it? What is that one single driving oomph deep within the core of your life that's been peeking out and trying to surface your entire life? And you know exactly what that is. What is your life calling? What is your one thing? You've noticed it and you've felt it a million times. You know. You've always known. Your parents saw it when you were but a child, when you were a toddler. They saw it when you were growing up, even as a teenager. Teachers, good teachers, tried to nurture and nourish it. Coaches tried to extract it in any way possible. True leaders wanted nothing more than adding your one thing to their team. Your one thing, working in tandem with others' life gifts, is an unstoppable force. We may call it the body. Figure out what your one thing is and direct all your energy toward fulfilling it. And your life is going to begin to flow like it never has before. You're going to begin to see signs, miracles, and wonders, or as I like to think of them, God's fireworks. He puts on quite a display at the right time in the right place. And this is how we get to the right time in the right place, when we figure out what our thing is. Otherwise, you're running backwards on an escalator, down the up and up the down. You see, you may, and if you're secular minded, you don't believe in all that signs, miracles, and wonder stuff, you're going to begin to see goodness manifest all around you. I like that too. In this next section of Scripture, you're going to see living out your calling from God's perspective. This is God's vision of you living with who you are. Let's see your effect on the universe, and I do mean universe, as you live out your truly unique one thing from God's eternal perspective. Isaiah 55, we're going to read 11 through 13 from the Voice. So it is when I declare something, my word will go out and not return to me empty, but I will do what I wanted. But it will do what I wanted. It will accomplish what I determined. For you will go out with joy, be led home in peace. And as you go, the land itself will break out in cheers. The mountains and the hills will erupt in song, and the trees of the field will clap their hands. Prickly thorns and nasty briars will give way to luxurious shade trees, sweet and good. And they'll remind you of the Eternal One and how God can be trusted absolutely and forever. What a great mind picture. When you live out the truth in the way that only you can do, all nature, the entire universe perks up, pays attention. The entire creation will spontaneously stand up at their seats and crescendo into a long and lasting round of applause just for you. You finally fit. You matter. You connect. You make a difference. As we live out Curly's Law by pointing all of our life's goals towards our personal true north, we will uncover and rediscover our unique gift. We're going to dust things off, folks. Now is the time. What's our one thing? What's your one thing? What if you could boil everything down, all your goals, your whole life, into what one thing, what would it be? Would it be a mom? Would it be a teacher? Would it be a caregiver? Would it be a lover? What would it be? If you can figure that one thing out of who you really are designed to be, then your life is going to connect and everything's going to begin to work. The universe awaits that decision. So choose your moving sidewalk. Let's look at this one thing from a different angle. And recently at an airport, I stepped onto one of those moving walkways designed to whisk us weary travelers a little closer to our destination with as little effort as possible on our part. Such is life. And you've all seen them. One conveyor moves people in one direction, and the adjacent one continuously moves people back in the other direction. And at the airport, I laughed when I saw a young boy entertaining his sibling by frantically running the wrong way on the opposite side pathway, trying to keep up. And it was funny. And he knew he was funny. And now it looked like a lot more work than I wanted to do running the wrong way on that moving sidewalk. Been there and done that in life, not at the airport. And life, we're always on one or the other moving sidewalk. You have to choose. And one brings us back the way we just came from. And the other propels us along toward our goal. One conveyor moves in the direction we want to go, while one heads back in the direction we just came from. And herein lies a life lesson. We can only be on one conveyor, one path at a time. One thing. Remember Curly's Law. One thing. One thing. This is a great teaching on focus. What do you really want in life? Who really do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? What do you already know? Start heading in that direction. And we'll notice that as life goes on, sometimes our calling may change as we age. That's okay. It's okay. Makes it a little more interesting maybe. It's fine. But just keep moving in the direction you know you should go. Still, there's one true you that's always designed to come out. We're on one moving sidewalk or the other. But it's just one thing. Most of us have a pretty good idea of the path we want to be on, as well as we're pretty well aware of the ones we want to avoid. But sometimes we don't. And we also know that it's not so easy to stay on the proper path. Now there's handrails and signs at the airport, but in real life they're just right next to each other. And they're moving in opposite directions all the time. And you can step over and all of a sudden you're back. And you go, what just happened? Then you got to step back over, and it never ends until we stop taking breath. Here's a verse describing a moving sidewalk going in your direction. And it's 2 Peter 1:10 from the God's Word. And therefore, brothers and sisters, use more effort to make God's calling and choosing of you secure. If you keep doing this, you will never fall away. You will never fall away. Imagine doing something that lasts, making an impact. I like that. If we live out our calling, our perfect gift, our one thing, we will remain. Our gift will remain long after we're gone. Isn't that what everybody in their life at some point wants, is to be remembered? Everybody wants to be remembered by somebody. Here's a verse describing jumping back and forth from moving walkway to moving sidewalk. Ephesians 4:14 from the ERV. Then we will no longer be like babies. We will not be people who are always changing, like a ship that the waves carry one way and then another. We will not be influenced by every new teaching we hear from people who are trying to deceive us. Those who make clever plans and use every kind of trick to fool others into following the wrong way. We humans are not supposed to be easily manipulated. Yet just watch TV. It's craziness, folks. They think they're committed, but they're not committed to their one thing. So often they're committed to somebody else's one thing. And you know that when you're carrying somebody else's sign, one you didn't make. Speaking of being tossed to and fro, I was recently with 5 lovely ladies, my traveling companions in a high sea adventure. And we were on a large cruise ship heading to the Eastern Caribbean, and it was woohoo! I couldn't wait. And this was going to be the journey of a lifetime. I'd never been on a cruise before, but little did I know. And leading up to boarding that ship, we left snowy Colorado, which at that time was about 8 degrees. And we would end up in Florida, which was supposed to be a balmy 80. And this was going to be nice. And our flight from Colorado Springs was delayed in Houston for a few minutes because of a simple mechanical problem. And I turned to my wife and gave her my best WTF look. And she responded to my childish gesture and said, "Every time we've been delayed, there's always a good reason." And she turned her attention back to what must have been an important article in a recent issue of People's Magazine that one of our travel mates had loaned her. And I sat back, took a breath, stared into space, and threw up a little prayer. And as we made our final approach to Fort Lauderdale Airport, a not-so-young, dyed blonde flight attendant leaned over to my ear and whispered, "Check the news now." And now why she chose me, I don't know. And I changed the channel on the little seat back monitor, and I saw that a shooting was taking place at the airport where we were just about to land in a couple of minutes. And the headline said, 5 people dead. And we touched down and saw people scattering and running all around over the tarmac near the airport, only to be herded back into groups. And the lights of the emergency vehicles lit up the place like Christmas. And we were still in the airplane when the shootings took place. God's perfect timing. And a side note, most of the people we spoke with during the cruise who had flown to Fort Lauderdale that day, like all of us, missed the shooting by just a mere couple of minutes. And each one acknowledged that God had protected them. And I thought it was great. Even a couple from India told Josephine that. And we spent about 7 hours sitting on the plane, in that plane on the tarmac, waiting for law enforcement and SWAT to sort things out. They didn't know who was suspect. They didn't know if we were. And the passengers were eerily calm. And even the babies didn't seem to mind. I've never seen children be so good for 7 hours. I was glad my children were not on that plane. Yeah. And during that time, I enjoyed 1 cup of water and one of those short tubes of original Pringles. And apparently there was not enough wine to go around, so they didn't give it out to anybody. And one of my mates did ask. So I think, what are you going to do? And I was sad for the people who died. I was sad for their families. And I was sad for the people who had to witness that carnage. Something they'll never forget. But I was secretly thankful we were delayed for a few minutes in Houston. And my wife was right again. Maybe someday I'll learn, right, ladies? And after a long line through customs, we finally boarded the ship, went up the little ramp, only to experience 10-foot seas once we sailed into the North Atlantic. And the huge vessel lumbered from side to side like an elephant walking with a drunken monkey on its back, making everyone on board walk around like inebriated toddlers. And it was impossible to walk a straight line and almost as hard to sleep. I almost rolled out of my bed one time when I took a nap in the afternoon. I'm laying there, when all of a sudden I start rolling off. It's like, whoa! Fun times. I'm making you want to go on a cruise, aren't I? And we all had a blast on that cruise, as that cruise went from tropical port to tropical port. It was amazing. And it was invigorating and refreshing to smell the sea breeze and that warm air. But I did think about that verse describing that biblical infant helplessly being tossed around by the selfish waves, tossed to and fro by people's words. And I thought how often I've allowed that to happen to me. And I hate it when I allow myself to get talked into something I really didn't want to do, whether it's a purchase or it's a life decision. We've all done it. And I think about the political climate today. One side screaming at the other, pointing fingers, waving signs and banners. I see on TV people carrying posters on a stick they didn't make. And I want to carry somebody else's sign. I don't want to be manipulated into somebody else's fight, their talking points. I don't want to carry their flag. I've done it. That's being tossed to and fro, folks. That's what the verse is talking about. You see it. You see it lived out right now. Take a stand on the true you. Take a stand on your one thing. What is that? Take a stand on you, not somebody else's thing. And while on the boat, I heard a man heard me talking to a family from Minnesota. And I was trying to tell them how beautiful Colorado was, and their eyes were getting bigger, and it was sort of a fun conversation because we were cold, but they were really cold. And the Canadians that we talked to, they were really, really cold, but not as cold as the Alaskans. They were really, really, really cold. Well, as I was talking to this family, this man interrupted me and asked me to meet his girlfriend and her kids. Because he said, hey, we're from Colorado, come over here to talk. So I asked them if they'd mind me going over there for a minute, and the family said, okay. And his lady friend was a slim, nice-looking gal, but I noticed she didn't have the nondescript Colorado accent. She had a real thick New York accent. And she told me she was an attorney and had been raised in Queens. But now she got a job in Colorado. And not giving me a chance to say anything, she told me, she said, sir, I'm so far left politically, they don't even have words for it. Now, I wasn't even talking to her. And then she added that she was Jewish and was an atheist. And I had the wisdom to keep my mouth shut on that one. But I was trying to keep up and try to figure out where she was going. And her boyfriend walked away from us at that point and sat down at a distance. I took note. He must have known what was about to happen. I didn't. And then she asked me where I was originally from. And all I spoke to her was one word. I said, Texas. And her face dropped. And she loudly began berating me as a bigot, gun-toting, blood-thirsty, Nazi, fascist, closed-minded pig. Things weren't going so well. And mind you, this was all done on a public sun deck, flowing with bikinis, sunscreen, and tropical drinks. And just then, the warm tropical breeze kissed my freckled skin. A gust of wind moved my hat just a little bit, and I remembered why I was there. I was on vacation. I didn't need this. So I turned and I left her stewing in her stupidity. It wasn't worth the conversation or the fight. I've had enough junk in my head. I have enough junk in my head telling me who I should think I am, and I didn't need to add more venom to that other nasty mix. I don't need it. I wasn't going to carry her sign. I wasn't going to play her game. You know, in the wise words of Curly Washburn, one thing, just one thing. You stick to that, and the rest don't mean squat. What she had heard and obviously believed about the great state of Texas was a far cry from the lone state that I knew and loved and I grew up in. We Texans may carry a gun or own a gun or three, you know, but the rest of her diagnosis was hogwash. You know, I opted not to get into a public argument that would go nowhere. But I did think how she had been manipulated for years and years and years to just come off and rail on me from just one word, Texas. You know, who knows what she went through? I don't care. You see, I'm not going to change her, somebody who's convinced and verbal like that, to somebody she doesn't know. Well, what about the things that we say to ourselves at times? Why do we do it? You know, one thing you can always do to yourself to help change your day, I want you to say something nice to yourself when you get up in the morning. Hey, good looking. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yes, you. You know, say something nice. Why not? You may not hear another nice thing all day. If you're not nice to yourself, why should anybody else be? It may seem corny, but that is one thing you can do to bless yourself that day. Why not? Give it a try. When you hear yourself saying stupid things, oh, Mark, you fool, gosh, why I ought to, you know. Then just say, love you, guy. You know, get back on the other escalator. You know? And see, choose well your moving walkway. See, Paul warned us not to be gullible like a baby set adrift in a raging ocean of ideals. He warned us. Focus on the truth. Focus on the real truth, on your truth. You know, keep your eyes on your prize, not somebody else's. You'll never be satisfied in your life if you do that. You hang on to your one thing and allow nothing to stop you. Allow nothing, nobody to stop you from your goal. You know, choose well your moving pathway. And when you get on the wrong one, then jump back over to the proper side. In reality, and we all know this is true, we're all going to take many attempts before we really get good at our new choices. It's really hard to change, folks. Talk to anybody, any alcoholic or somebody who is an addict of some sort. It's not easy. Or if you were raised a certain way, it's hard to bang out of that stuff, but you can. But you're gonna go good for a while. Then you're gonna all of a sudden realize you slid over to the other side and you're going back the other way. I was skiing the other day, and it had snowed pretty well, and the snow was probably thigh high, not thigh high, excuse me. It was in the middle of my calf, like calf high. So I couldn't see my skis anymore. And then the wind picked up. We were at almost 13,000 foot altitude. And so then I couldn't see. One side of my goggles fogged up, so I had no depth perception. And so it was hard to tell which way you were going, up, down. You could only go by feel. And so I had to really be careful until I got lower, because it was a double black diamond area. You know, but it was fun, but it wasn't one I wanted to repeat. You see, and so I couldn't tell which way I was going. I literally could not tell if I was going, down or just sideways. It was hard, except for how my body felt. It was weird because I couldn't see. Think about the people who are blind skiers. That's got to be different. See, choose well your moving walkway. You know, make that new choice. Keep doing it until it's a habit. You know, but just keep heading in the direction you're supposed to go in life, and life is going to open up for you. But know you're going to end up on the wrong path sometimes. You're going to fall back sometimes. People always think, well, I'm going to get there. I haven't drank in 10 years, so I can go to the bars now. No, you can't. Oh, I can just shoot up one more time. No, you can't. You can't. That's no different than you. All of a sudden, you know, you've made a habit of working out. Well, I'll skip it today. I'll skip it tomorrow. Then pretty soon you skipped it for a month or 2 months. You get 10 pounds heavier, and you're going, what have I done? You got to get back on your moving sidewalk in the direction you want to go. Don't condemn yourself. Look at yourself. Okay, you got beat, but you're a winner, dude. Man. You know, so now jumping tracks. Our one thing from Curly's Law will never be easy. If it was easy, anybody could do it. And you aren't just anyone. You're crazy special. God gave His Son for you. You are the amazing you that nobody else could even come close to. Our life task is to choose the moving sidewalk headed in the direction that we're designed to go, and to avoid the opposite one as much as possible. Trust me, you're going to hit that one, you know, but pretty soon you'll get better at staying on the right one. But you never just totally conquer the world. You just keep getting back on the horse. There's always one best way for us, and the path is always going to be moving. You step on and whoa, you ever step on those things? You know, you step on and all of a sudden it whisks you. Just for a second, you're just a little bit off balance, especially if you're not used to them. Then when you get off, it's like, whoa, and then you got to step differently. You see, we make life decisions to change for the better, and we jump on that appropriate moving path. We're always moving. You're always moving, folks, always moving. You're either going in the direction you're designed to go, or you're going the other way. You never can stand still. You put a leg on both sides, you're going to end up on one or the other, probably on your face, which I have done when I forgot about my one thing, you see. We're moving. Life's good. The universe is applauding us, and it really is. Our life throws us a curveball at times. You see, it's going to happen. A problem happens at work. A problem happens at home. The kids live out their problems like stage actors. And for some reason, it seems like their mission is to make my life miserable. And all of a sudden, we're eating a half gallon of ice cream, skipping the gym, yelling at our lover, hating our jobs, complaining about our boss, complaining about our employees or the machinery or the country, blaming this. We just jump tracks. When you hear yourself doing that, you've jumped tracks. You're going the wrong way. When you blame somebody else, you're not going your way anymore. You're living somebody else's dream. You're living their one thing. Because in reality, you should not be ruining the day that you were born. We've reached over and we've grabbed that black handrail on the opposite direction walkway, then it grabs us and pulls us the other way. We're pulled backwards towards the way we just left. What just happened? Can you give me a WTF? Woo-woo! You see, it always boils down to trying to staying true to that one thing. And we really know what we're supposed to be doing. All of us do. But it just gets muddied and confused. And we've let ourselves go so far down the track sometime, with weight or a relationship or a job or lack of finances or what have you, being negative, being a raging biatch, whatever it is that we think we can't ever get back. And the thing is, you can get back. Wasn't that the price that Christ paid for us? There's always a way back. Oh, I'm too sick. I have incurable disease. Well, are you sicker than dead? Well, no. Well, the dead's been raised from the dead before. Sadly, we've all had problems. Be it weight gain, too little money, repeated bad relationships, addictions, lack of advancement, no acknowledgement, fleeting notoriety that we really feel that we need and deserve, whatever. But we need to stay the course, folks. But you got to stay your course. And you can say, I'm supposed to stay God's course. Okay, good. Well, God wants you to live out your calling within His course. I mean, if just becoming a Christian changed your life, this world would be one heck of a great place. I've been burned more by Christians than I have by anybody on earth because I'm around more of them. You see, in business, and whatever. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter. It's a renewed mind. It's changing a lifestyle. It's getting on the right escalator and trying to hang out with people who are moving the same direction you are. It's hard to find sometimes. It's a life journey. We need to hang on to our calling, hang on to those handrails, and stay true to the driving purpose of our lives and never forget our one thing. Then nothing else means squat. You will never fully arrive at the destination of never being bothered by our problems. I'll say it again. You will never fully arrive at a destination of never being bothered by your problems again. They're always going to haunt you. And it's dangerous to think that you can do something that you shouldn't be doing again because now you're strong. Trust me, you ain't that strong. you've been raising the poor head, it's hard to get out of that. You see, you've been raised in a family that was mean to you. It's hard to change, but we can. You've had a horrible relationship. That doesn't mean the next one's going to be. I would say the next one's going to be great. Why not? It's going to be fantastic. Tell yourself that. Why not? You see, we got to stay vigilant though. 1 Peter 5:8 from The Voice. Most importantly, be disciplined and stay on guard. Your enemy, the devil, is prowling around outside like a roaring lion, just waiting and hoping for the chance to devour someone. Just waiting for you to mess up. Just give him a hole. Just give him an opportunity. You see fighters, don't you? I mean, on TV, boxers, mixed martial arts, whatever it is, judo, karate, you know, and they're just looking for that opening. Like I was looking for an opening when that Jewish atheist, you know, then I realized there is no opening. No opening I want to step into. There was a big don't touch sign. You know, why do you think people keep going to AA for years and years and years? Or counselors for years and years and years? It doesn't mean they're weak people. Sometimes it might mean they're smart people. They need help. They need somebody to hold their hands at times. Because sometimes life is too hard to just do by yourself. So don't put those people down. My God, it's better than them finding them in the gutter. I've seen them. I've seen people pull veins out of their arms, ruin them with drugs. You know, be so drunk that they're just asleep, you know, laying literally in the gutter. I've seen it. People die. They get in accidents. They work so hard. They're living somebody else's dream that they fall asleep and they get into a head-on collision somewhere. You know, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what it is. If you get tricked or lured onto the escalator going the wrong direction for you, put in the effort. And it is going to take effort, folks, to get back on the path you really and initially and innately know you're supposed to be on. Remember Curly's Law. Choose that one best thing that drives the true you, and only you can figure that out. I mean, maybe take a piece of paper sometime today, you know, and write down as many things as you think that you're supposed to be doing on earth or you need. And then try to boil it down. What's the most important thing? If I could boil it all down of every single goal that I want, you'll find that everything else will point toward that one goal, and you can have everything. You could probably have every one of those goals that you want, but all those aren't your thing. They're just going to come along. They're the universe clapping. They're the universe pushing you along, rewarding you for being you. God will reward you for being you. I was watching the ladies I traveled with, and it was fun to see how they interacted differently with people that we ran into. We seemed to run into a lot of the same people. And some of them, I mean, I'd see how some groups would gravitate to one or the other of them. And it was fun to see, you know, because they were using their gift, and it attracts different people in different ways. And that's the beauty of humanity. We're all there for a reason. I saw the East Coast people. They seem to just, I don't know what, it's like radar. They would see Josephine and, you know, and they'd be attracted to her, and they'd want to hug her, and it's like, what? They're not hugging me, you know? But I saw the Texas people, no. You know, and then you saw the Navy guys with their Navy hats and their Navy ships on them, hanging out with the Navy guys with the Navy hats and the Navy ships. It was just fun seeing people enjoying each other. On the islands, it was fun seeing the island people enjoying each other as they're waiting up for to do a tour or whatever. It was fun. And people ending up on the same tour as each island or whatever they did. It's kicks, but I mean, we're all there for a reason. One couple from Australia kept running into us over and over all week, all of us. And they sort of fell in love with it, exchanged emails, this and that. And the guy told me, I can't do an Australian accent, so I'm not even going to try. But he said, I earned my first $1 million by the time I was 37. And he said, later on, I built a 70-foot yacht. I had it built, and it cost me $1 million. And my wife hated it. She hated the thing. And I said, what did you do? And he goes, I got rid of it. And then I looked at his wife, and she had the face on like only a wife could have. And she said, having that boat was like standing in the shower tearing up $100 bill after $100 bill. And and he just sort of looked down at his shoes and shrugged his shoulders. And then later on he told me, I'm going to build another one, and I'm going to travel around the world alone. He probably won't. I mean, he's mid-70s, the guy, but he has a dream. He loves sailing, and he loves traveling, and he earned the money so he could do it. He had a life plan. He knew what he wanted to do. Now, maybe you're starting your plan later than some people. Huh? And start traveling a little later than some people. Who cares? Do the things you want to do. Go the places you want to go. Love the people that you want to love. Be the person you're designed to be. Do your one thing. Find your one thing. See, remember Curly's Law. Choose that one best thing that drives the true you. And you know what it is. Do your one thing for life. Now, this past year, I read hundreds of self-helper books, blogs, and posts, as well as listen to countless hours of audio on how to improve me. And they all promise that if I stick with their patented system of somewhere between 4 and 35 steps, I will discover a better me. And depending upon the book, they all say that if I faithfully keep their advice for 21, 66, 90, or some even say 365 days, that I would become a new and better person, and even my friends won't recognize me. Now, I've heard people say the same thing about the Bible. Read it for a year, and people won't know you. You see, and every point, every story, every quote in these books, including the Bible, make me feel more encouraged, and they make me feel more focused and hopeful. And I even feel a bit more present. Or as the kids say, Zen. You see? And I love the quotes in these books like, do the thing and you shall have the power. Emerson. Or success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Jim Rohn. Or you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. Mae West. And finally, do or do not. There is no try. Yoda. You know, there is no try. You're on one escalator or you're on the other all the time. Sometimes we're just it's like a mad loop, you see? But we'll get better at it. See, I especially love to rehearse scripture, like, but my God has already supplied all my need according to his riches and glory, Philippians 4:19. I'm a super conqueror, Romans 8:37. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me, Philippians 4:13. By his wounds I'm already healed, 1 Peter 2:24. Or if we believe it will happen, we can say to this mountain, be uprooted and thrown into the sea, and it will be done, Mark 11:23. See, all these words are amazing, true, and life-changing. But what makes me perplexed is how quickly sometimes I fall back into my old routines, my old way of doing business. It doesn't make sense to me. It's probably the same reason why most people's New Year's resolutions are forgotten by the end of January. And the same reason people keep praying for the same needs and desires over and over and over, year after year after year. If you keep praying for the same thing, probably you're not getting your prayers answered. And maybe it's not God's fault. What? You mean there's more I might be able to do? You see, we lose focus. The reason is we lose focus of our one thing? What's your one thing? Now, I'm just barely smart enough to know that a book, a blog, a friend, or a life coach can only inspire thought and point me in the right direction. It takes lifelong self-directed action, and in my case, starting over many times in order to change a life. So don't be too hard on yourself. Just get up and keep moving. Have you ever asked yourself, what is the one simple thing I can do to change my life? Is there such a thing possible? And the movies make it look so easy, but it's not. It's hard work to walk a straight line on a moving ship. Trust me. See, it's hard to go the opposite way on a moving sidewalk. You see, and let's remember Curly's Law, his secret to life. Let's keep it simple. There's always one thing we can do that will change our life. Now all we need to do is figure out our one thing and keep doing it. We make ourselves rebound from any and every life's failure. We get back on the horse. We get back up. We start heading in the same direction. You know, when we stop, the true words of Curly do work, folks. One thing. Just one thing. You stick to that and everything else don't mean squat. What is that one thing, you ask? Well, that's what you've got to figure out. Happy trails. God bless.